Well, hi everyone. My name is Chris, and this is Birm, and we're back to record another back and forth video. Unless we come up with a better name soon, this name is going to stick, Birm. So I
Oh,
don't
it's
know.
definitely gonna stick.
Yeah, if anyone has a better name for it, let us know. But in this video, we're going to try and record creating a Docker image for a React application. So with the long-term goal of creating, so eventually, hopefully over the course of a couple of videos, we'll have created basically a full React application, and we kind of show like how we set up our development environment, how we linked it with Firebase and use some of the tools there, and then hopefully how we get it into like a production ready state. Fingers crossed. Like I'm sure a lot of this is live coding, so I'm sure something will go wrong, but that's our long-term goal. So
There's Murphy's Law, and anything that can go wrong will go wrong. So better, something's gonna go wrong.
yeah, and sometimes I'm hoping like sometimes I like watching videos where people screw up, like there's not like just the perfect presentation. So we're hoping that other people like that as well, because you're probably going to see lots of screw ups. But yeah, like I said before, my name is Chris. I'm a software consultant with Saturday Morning Productions. And Birm.
I'm Birm. I'm still fairly new to programming. Been about it for about a year plus now, but I'm here because I don't know many things that are like, I don't know Docker, for example, and this is an interesting way to learn Docker. So super fun. And I'm here to ask the stupid questions that Chris wouldn't ask himself. So yeah.
And the other reason I like it too is I don't know anything about React, right? So I've never created a React app. I've dabbled in existing ones a little bit, but I've never created one. So I think this will be a good back and forth where I talk about the Docker stuff. And then kind of when we kind of did a little sample and we tried this before, you were basically telling me like, oh, this is a React command you need to type to do this. And you were in a previous video, you're explaining how a React application is set up. So yeah, no, I think this will be super fun. All right, so I'm going to share my screen here. All right. You can see that okay, Birm?
Yep.
All right, so I think we'll just try using Visual Studio Code. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we need to create a repository. Oh, no, wait. I think we tried this last time. We tried to create the repository first, but in this case, we're going to actually want to create the application, and then I'll add it to the repository after the fact. So let's do that. So let's create that application first.
And npx creates its own repository as well. So
will I create a Git repo?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We'll deal with that as we got. Okay, but the first thing we need to do is we don't want to run this on my machine. We want to create a Docker container for that. So what is the best way to go? This is always the tricky part with Docker. Is you need the Docker. I can't create the application until we have a basic Docker container working with like what we need Node, if I remember correctly, right? That's all we should need to run the npx command.
Yes.
All right, so there I have a to-do folder. So I'm just going to open up that folder in Visual Studio Code here. All right. And we're calling it to do because ideally, eventually this will be like a little mini to-do app. Is basically kind of what our demo is going to be. I don't know, maybe it'll change over time, but we'll see for now. All right, so so the first thing you want to do when you're creating like a new image to work with in your development environment is you need a Docker file, and this basically kind of configures the image that you want, like with what libraries and other third-party tools that you're going to want to set up inside of it. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use, so the first command usually in the file is this from, and then you want to specify the image that we're going to take it from. So we're not writing one exactly from scratch. We're using an existing one. If we go to, I'll bring up Docker Hub here. I think we wanted the node one, I think, just node. All right, yeah, so here's the, bigger. So here's the Docker Hub node image. And there's no reason for us not to use the latest and greatest, which is 16. We don't want to use Alpine. It's a smaller image, but it could be harder to work with because it's not based on Ubuntu.
When I downloaded Node last time,
Debian.
not Node. When I downloaded Docker the last time, I just downloaded Docker the app, and then I have to download Docker for Node, Docker for pip, Docker for blah, blah, blah afterwards on top of that.
Yeah, Docker is an application, and then you're going to want to download whatever image you need that you want to work with, right? So if you're working in a .NET environment, you'll go find a Microsoft .NET image, and Docker will take care of downloading that image. And then when you run it, it'll become a container on your machine that you can interact with.
What's the difference between that and just downloading .NET then on my computer?
The difference is with Docker, it kind of lives in its own like environment, its own space on your computer. So when you're done with it, like say after we download this node image and we play around with it and we use it, I can just delete it and it's gone. I don't have to install Node on my base computer or my base machine. In .NET, you wouldn't have to install .NET on your base machine. It all just lives in that container. And you can destroy that container and your base machine is fine. And that's the reason I really like to use it for when I do software development, because it prevents my machine from getting cluttered with all these like third-party dependencies and various versions of Node or .NET, or I work a lot in Ruby. So then you have different versions of Ruby installed on your host machine, and a bunch, in Ruby's case, they have a lot of gems as their package manager. So you have a lot of Ruby gems. Yeah, it just prevents you from having all that set up. The other nice thing is if you have clients who use different databases, like maybe one client uses MySQL and another client uses Postgres, you can download like the Postgres Docker image and the MySQL Docker image. And that has like the database kind of set up and ready to go on it. You don't have to install those on your local machine. And again, you can just destroy them. You can delete them. Like if for some reason your MySQL database image gets all messed up, not the data itself, but the image doesn't run properly for some reason anymore, you can just destroy it and recreate it. So yeah, did that answer the question there, Birm?
Yeah, it did.
All right, so where do we go? So we wanted Node, we wanted 16. I think the documentation for this one is mostly on, so we don't want the issues, it's on the README here. So here's kind of how to use it. Oops, make that a bit bigger. Yeah, so there's some instructions on how to use it. I think there was even more. Oh yeah, the best practices. So when I was reading here, excuse me, this is what helped me solve the problem we had last time we tried to run it, where I had the incorrect user. So because by default, Node will run as, oh, this wasn't it. Best practice. I don't remember. Oh, maybe it was back here. Shoot, now I can't find the page. Oh yeah, no, this is it. Yeah, where they discuss how to. All right, where's that user? Yeah, okay. So there's some here. It actually tells you you want to run it as user node.
Can you zoom in a bit on that part?
Oh yeah, there. How's that?
Better.
Yeah, and that's a part we missed last time. So, okay, so let's go back to here. So we want node 16. So let's just make sure this works. That I didn't screw up the from file or the from part. So if we just run docker compose build. Oh, sorry. We don't have a compose file. So we just have a Docker file. So the other thing we want to create is a compose file. And for some reason, like Docker file is usually capitalized and has no extension at the end. And for, I don't know, some reason, I guess due to history, Docker compose is usually lowercase and it's a YAML file. Okay, let's get rid of that for now. We don't need that either. All right, so this guy, I'm just going to cut and paste some stuff just to make my life a little easier. So all right. All right, so for Docker Compose, usually the first thing you have at the top of the file is a version. So this is the not the version of Docker Compose that you're using, but the file format that you're using. And I think 3.8 is the latest. It's probably my guess. I'd have to check. It changes every once in a while, but we'll use version 3.8. This section indicates, so the reason you use Docker Compose over just a single Docker file is if you have multiple Docker images that you want to run, a service lets you connect them all and kind of manage them in one spot and link them together and tell them how they should be linked. And then Docker Compose will actually create a little kind of internal Docker network between the various nodes. So if you have, a lot of times you'll see like an app and then you'll see a database service, like there'll be like a DB down here. And that'll be your Postgres database or something like that. And then you can connect the app image or the app container that you're running to the database one so that they can find each other. And then when you start one, you can use Docker Compose to basically start all those containers at once rather than having to run a Docker command for each individual one.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes life a little bit easier there. So this first part, services, and then this is the name of our service. In our case, we're just calling it app. So often you'll see it either app or web is the other common one. You'll see quite often. And this build command, what this tells it is go find the Docker file, in this case, this one here, in the same folder. So this is the folder path, which is just a dot, which means the current folder. And build that Docker file. That's the image we want to use for this app service. You can hard code it, or not hard code it, but you can point it directly to, instead of saying build, you can point it to an image. So a lot of times what you'll see inside one of these is you'll see the DB part and it'll just point right to an image like my, I think you can use an image keyword and then it's MySQL and then whatever version of MySQL, like 5.7 or whatever.
Yeah.
That you want to use, right? So in our case, we want to use the Docker file. This just specifies, so reading the documentation for the node folder, this is a working directory that we want. So when we run the Docker container, that's kind of the default directory that we get dumped into, and that by default, all our commands get executed in. And this last one is volumes. This maps the data inside the Docker container to the host machine. So the first part of this colon is the host machine. So in this case, it's saying map the current folder, which in this case is just my to-do folder, to home/node/app inside the Docker container. And the reason I chose home/node/app is because that's what was recommended for this particular image. So, and in our case, maybe we'll, I think by default it should use development, but anyway, you can see the volume set up here. No, they use dot slash instead of just dot, but, and then we might have to, depending on, I'm not sure how node works, so we might end up having to expose some ports or possibly setting up an environment or something like that. So let's see how this goes. But first of all, let's see if this part works. All right, so that's looking pretty good so far. So you can see all that text going by there. So the first part, this first part here is that's actually downloading the actual node image. So we only have one command. So there's only one layer in this Docker image, and that's just the default node one. So now that it's built, all right, feel free to ask a question or something if you have, Birm.
I'm just I'm trying to map it to stuff I already kind of know, trying to create analogies. But what I'm thinking right now is like, oh, this is like that file right there, Docker file, or like an npm, like a package manager. No, that's like a packages.json. And the only difference is that Docker is an actual application that all of this runs inside.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. Like yeah, Docker is the application that manages the running of Docker containers on your local machine. And the Docker Hub is just like, yeah, like you said, like a package manager of existing Docker images that you can use. So yeah, you can find tons of them if you just go to Docker Hub. Like what was one that you were looking for? .NET?
For
.NET Core 5 or something, right?
Yeah, .NET Core 5, yeah.
Right, so this one's by Microsoft, right? So this is the official image. So it's the only thing to kind of watch out for. Oh, this little page has moved to .NET. Okay. So apparently they moved it. So this is where we gotta go. So this is where you would get your .NET images here. Yeah, so in this case, you'd have to type in kind of, that's the image name there. Oh, okay. So they have a .NET SDK, ASP.NET runtime. Oh, okay. So this is pretty cool. So yeah, this is where you go to find those images. The one I use quite a bit is the Ruby one, because just lately I've been doing lots of Ruby development. So they're up to Ruby 3 here. I actually use the old, older versions of Ruby. So they don't show all the tags here, but these actually go back to like Ruby 1.9.3, which is really old. But we do have, some of the work I do right now is with legacy code. So sometimes we get old applications that run on Ruby, old versions of Ruby. So it's really handy to be able to go here and pull down the Docker image that we need. Okay. Okay. So that's set up. So the other issue we had, so okay, maybe we'll show this bug because it's a bug we encountered last time we tried it.
Yeah.
Now I have, so I'll clear this just so I'm at the top again. So now I can run my image app. So this Docker Compose run command, you say the service that you want to run. In this case, it's app, right? Because we only got the one. And this is the command we want to run. In our case, it's just bash. So just bring up the terminal in this case. So hopefully that works. Yeah, okay, so that works. So now we're inside the Docker container. So we're inside, we're logged in as root and all that stuff. So, and we're logged in right to the home app or the home node app folder. So you can see that's where we're logged in here. And you can see that these files here, these are files that are mapped from outside the Docker container to inside it, right? Because these exist on my host machine.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing to note when you're working with Docker. Usually your IDE and your source code live on your host machine. It's just all the other dependencies like node and all the node packages that we're going to download will exist inside the actual Docker container itself. All right. So what was that command to, so say now we're inside node. How do we actually create a new React application? It was npx or something?
Yeah, npx create -react -app.
Create, dash react dash app. Yeah.
And then it would usually be the name of the app, but in this case, it's to do. So you would do a dot just to say if you want it, not five. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So, and then this will do some stuff, but watch it not error out this time. But I think we should get a permission error. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So we got this permission denied error. And it took us a little bit to figure this out. And it's because this node image, a lot of times Docker images by default, you'll run as root in them, which is not necessarily the best idea. So this Docker image was set up with the fact that you should probably run most of your commands as a different user. And I can't remember what they called it. User, I think. Let me go double check here. What did they want us to run it as?
It was user, wasn't it?
Yeah, user node. Is that it? I think it was just user node. Yeah, user node. So the easiest way to do this is we'll just set it in here inside the Docker file itself. User. All right. So this env just means this is an environment variable. The reason we set this as an environment variable is so that you can change it later if you wanted to. So like sometimes I've had Docker images where if you're running it in development, you want to run it as one user. And when you run it in production, you want to run it as a different user. Or if anyone just wants to change it, that just lets you set this up. And then this just says, when I run this Docker container after this line, all the commands I issue, or whenever this container is running, this will be the user that we use by default. So we have to, now that we've changed it, we will have to rebuild it. Sorry, go ahead.
You have to explain that again. That went over my head.
What part went over your head?
The user as user.
Oh, okay. So we're setting this environment variable. So that's all this command does. If you just right now, so you like environment variables, you know what those are, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they're kind of like variables that are, if you have your host operating system, they're available everywhere, right? So that's what we're doing here. Here, we're just assigning, so this user, we could just type in node.
Yeah.
But we want to use the environment variable. And to do that, we need to use this fancy $curly syntax format. And so these are all like this from, this env, this user, these are all Docker commands, which I should probably reference, I guess. So if you look here, we should be able to find, so again, I'll make this bigger. How's that?
A bit more there.
Is that good?
It's good.
Yeah, so you can see the env command. So we're under the Docker file reference here. So there's env, sets an environment variable, right? So it sets this environment variable to this value. So you see what we did there. And then the user one is down. Right. Oh, there it is. The user one is down here. And this is, you're basically just setting kind of the user you want to use when the image is run. Yeah. All right, and then we use the, I think we use the working dir inside we did that inside the Docker compose, which I guess we should probably move. Yeah, let's move that in there. It's not going to change, so we might as well put the working dir in here. Path to working dir. Okay, and I don't know if this app. The one thing we should do too. Let's make this. Let's make that folder. Oh, why isn't it like that? How do I create a directory in Docker again? Do I just have to run it as all right, so now I have to go look at some of the other Docker files I've created because I always forget. I go here. This Docker file that I've created in the past. Oh yeah, it's just a run command. There is no make directory. Okay. So just run. So this runs just any command on your Docker container. And in this case, we're going to make a directory. So it'll create this directory and then it'll set this working directory here. So that should all be good. So the volumes, we still want to map here. So what this volume does too, inside the Docker container, you're going to have this folder, right? This folder is going to exist. When you do this volume, what it does is it doesn't actually delete anything inside this app folder. It's just going to map your local folder on your host over top of it and basically hide anything underneath it. So if you have files inside your Docker container, they're not deleted, they're just hidden by the files on your host machine. So it's something to watch out for. And I've had some issues with little work I've done with Node and Docker before, where I need the Node modules will sometimes get hidden because they're installed on my Docker container, but they're not installed on my host. And the Node modules loves to live in the same folder.
Yeah.
Unlike other like Ruby gems or NuGet packages, which can live elsewhere. Node modules likes to live in the same root folder, and the problem is it doesn't exist on my machine. So there's a way, if we run into that problem, there's a way we can get around that. So okay, so that all looks good. So let's rebuild this container. Let's see if I screwed anything up. All right, so that looks good. So one thing to note too with Docker, so that was a lot faster than the first time we ran it because it's using that first step, this from node 16. It didn't bother to re-download that or anything because it has it all cached. So all it did was execute those two new steps that it found in the Docker file. So when you are working on a Docker file, to kind of speed up your work, commands that change frequently, you want to put towards the end, because anytime it detects a change, when you rebuild your Docker container, it's going to rebuild every line after that. It can't use the cache line anymore. So if something that changes frequently, you're going to want to do that, like I said, later in your Docker file. And things that don't change very often, you're going to want to do at the beginning of your Docker file. So something to keep in mind. All right, so let's see, Docker. Let's see if this all works. No, it's not web, it's app dash. All right, so that all looks good. Now, the big test will be is if we run that. All right, so we're in /app. Okay, that is still home node app. Okay, good. And you also notice now that we've logged in, we're under the node user. Notice how it doesn't say root here anymore.
Yeah.
Because we set up our user to be, our default user to be node. And this node user, like you can't use, if you use it in a different Docker container, it might not work. It's just because this Docker container has a user set up inside of it called node. So,
yeah.
All right. So what was that command? npx
create React app.
Create React app.
Hold on. I think so. Like npx create React app is very particular about the how you name the app when you're creating it first. Since this is in the app directory, I don't know if it will let you use that name app. I've tried to name an app, a React app, client app before, and didn't let me. But let's see if this one works.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool.
I just know it's very particular about the naming convention. Not naming convention, but it's like doesn't allow certain names.
Okay. Let's see what happens. All right. So yeah, and then we get this message because I don't have this npm package installed. right? So I'm not sure what npx does, but I think it's looking for this package and going to run it, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Yeah. So download that first.
All right. So
Yeah.
oh,
Try
okay. The
to
directory contains files that can conflict. Docker compose. Okay, so we didn't get the permission error, which is great. But it looks like I have files in this folder. So I don't really want to remove those files. So I think what I'll do is I'm just going to create another folder inside here. Just
Yeah.
call it something temporary, and then we'll copy all the files out there and put them back into root.
Sure.
That, or we could try, I don't know. This I'll just what's the best way to do this? Do I just create a, all right, so let's create a folder here.
I think that'd be the best way to go about it.
Just call it source, I guess.
Source is gonna like React has a source file already. So
Oh, okay.
to do React has something to do with it.
So source, it has an src one. I don't know. We'll just call it blah. I'm assuming that won't conflict with anything. We can rename it later.
Yeah.
So we're not stuck with the name there. Okay, so I should be able to run this command again. And I put it, is this the name of the app? Oh no,
So,
but this has to be the name of the app, right?
So yeah, if you do that, it will just create a new directory. It will create
Okay. So I can just delete. Sorry, I keep interrupting you there. Sorry, go ahead and explain.
Yeah, if you name the app, it will create a new directory. But since the only reason I wanted to do the dot was because like it was already in a folder, and I didn't want to create an extra folder under it. But yeah, if you create, you can just do that.
Okay, so let's try this. Boom. All right, so this is looking good. Oh, and one thing to notice, you can see these files appearing up here, right?
Yeah.
As it runs this thing. Okay, Birm, this looks a lot better than than our failed attempt a couple weeks ago. So yarn, so it does use yarn. Okay.
So I've not mine usually don't use yarn. It must be your configuration.
Yeah, maybe it's, I think yarn maybe was probably pre-installed onto this Docker image is my guess.
Must
and then I don't know, maybe the create React app will look for like yarn. If it can't find yarn, it'll try npm or something. I'm not sure. Well, this is looking really good. Look, let's create a bunch of files. All right, so there's everyone's favorite node modules. We got a public folder. So this must be where like, yeah, fave icons, robots. Okay. That's like your public web folder.
Index.html there is there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's mainly, yeah, it's not really, you don't really touch it, but yeah, that's kind of where everything is. But everything is in the source folder.
App.js. Okay, well, that looks really good. Cool. Okay. So this is all working. And you said something it was going to create. Okay, so we have this to do folder. Because now I've created some stuff. I really want to put this inside Git. Okay, but it created a Git Ignore, which is fine, but it didn't create like a Git folder or anything. Okay, so that's okay. All right, so now what we want to do though is we want to move this folder one level up, right? And it's probably best if this is at root, I'm assuming.
Yeah, why not? I've had it and when I use .NET and you use ASP with React app, the React application is just it's a subfolder and it's just under a client tab directory. So I mean, I believe it would work.
Okay, I think this is a copy command that should copy everything. Let's see.
Guessing with terminal guessing with terminal commands. Oh man, you like to live dangerously.
Yeah, I'm usually not a big terminal fan. Okay, so that looked like it worked. Everything's here at root, right? Packages, readme, yarn lock,
Okay.
source, that all looks good. Public looks good. Node modules. Yeah, that's all fine. Okay. So now I should be able to remove the to-do folder, right?
Make sure it's not like the original to-do folder.
No, I'm not. There is no. So when I'm inside my Docker container, I'm inside the home node app folder, right?
Right, right.
There is
Okay.
no to-do in here.
That makes sense. Okay, yeah, go for it.
All right. Well, thanks for. I like to validate with people because then if things go wrong, I can always blame them. If there's a career tip for you, Birm. All right, so that's gone. So now that that's all in there, I'm going to want to definitely put this inside a repository. So start a
See if
new.
it's good before adding it.
Sorry.
Didn't you run it to see if it's good before adding it to Git?
I want to add it first.
Old habits die hard.
Yeah. See this. How do I add a repository? So this is something I don't do very often, so I always forget how to do it.
Like I don't have to do it from the command line. It'll just be.
Oh, you know, okay, we could do it for, like with files that already exist.
Yeah.
Oh, is Git installed on here? Let's see. Oh yeah, Git is installed. Cool. So the node Docker image has Git on it. All right. So how do I do it on the local here?
Are you in the root of the Docker container?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
if I look here, I'm in home node app. Yep.
Yeah. So getting in it.
Just in it.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. There's too many active changes. No, I don't. Oh, is no modules not in Git Ignore? Okay, let's go away. Let's take a look.
Right, you can see it's not on the Git Ignore. I don't know if why the Git Ignore didn't move.
Oh, right. Shoot. It didn't move because when I did the copy ignores the dot files because they're like hidden files.
Oh.
Oh, darn it. There was, see now, Birm, I can blame you. Okay, but we can fix that by, I'm just going to look up a React. I guess I should put this on the screen so everyone can see it. Okay, so let's look up React Git Ignore.
I was wondering why like the npm packages were like usually when something's in the Git Ignore, like it's what do you call it? The text is muted.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. And I was like, oh.
So what
Create React app Git Ignore. That what the second one.
So okay, let me go back here. This is from the React app. One file or one place I find useful sometimes is this Git Ignore Io.
Oh yeah, this is very fun.
And there should be a create like. So, and this is really handy for just getting a basic ignore file. Like you can put in, I think you can put in Rails, right? Like Rails. Yeah, like there's all the things you should ignore by default.
Yeah. So we've got like Docker, Linux. Like the way I was taught was like first the 3 operating systems, and then the IDE, and then the language, and then framework. You can just link all of those in one go.
Sorry, what was that? What were you?
For the how to creating Git Ignore on gitignore.io.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the 3 operating systems, and then the IDE you're using.
Oh, okay. So like Linux, right?
And then Windows, Mac, and then the IDE you're using, Visual Studio and Visual Studio Code were the ones we were using at the time. And then the language and then framework.
So what's the language? Is it JavaScript?
Yeah. I don't think there's one for JavaScript, so it have to be Node, I guess. For React.
Node's
I think React would cover it.
Okay, well, let's try it. I'm curious now. I usually don't type in all of these. This is interesting. All right, so let's see. Oh, that's pretty small. All right. So Linux. I don't have no idea what fuse hidden is. Okay, here's Mac OS. Well, this is kind of cool. Yeah, ignoring thumbnails is kind of a cool thing. Is that the Windows one? Mac OS. Where's Windows? Oh, Windows. Yeah, okay. So yeah, it'll ignore the thumbs.db. Oh, that's cool. Oh, just put it all in alphabetical order, not the order I typed it in. Okay. So it ignored, then here's node. So it's ignoring all this stuff. Oh,
Nice.
yeah. Oh, thanks for the tip about the operating systems. Because yeah, every once in a while, like especially now I'm working on a project in Windows and the stupid thumbs folder. Sometimes when you're loading images in there, they start showing up. So
I have my worst enemy is ds underscore store dot ds store, I think, or it's Mac one. And wow, do I hate that one.
sure. Let's try this whole thing. Let's do it. Let's live on the edge. Okay, so we need a new file. Dot git ignore. Because I think the original React one was just a tiny little guy, right? But let's put this whole thing in here. Let's see what happens.
I think it was
Forget
just
about
really
top down.
React. I don't know, nothing else.
Okay, so that all looks good. So now
Node modules are ignored, so you're good.
I should be good. So now if I go, see, I'm more of a client fan. So if I open a repo, open a repository, desktop repos, to do, there we go. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so I made an initial commit with just the README. Okay, oh, okay, good. It didn't add any README. This is the README that came when we created React app.
Yep.
Okay, and here's the 19 files. So it's always a good thing to do when you first create a project to make sure it's not adding a bunch of garbage files like binaries or node packages, I guess, in our case. And that it's not excluding anything. So this all looks good, right?
Yep.
Like source, we want the source folder. We want yarn lock, of course. We want everything in public. And we want package.json for sure. And our Docker files. Okay. Created. Stage all those, commit. Okay, so now I feel super comfortable playing around, trying to run the application because now it's in version control. If we screw something up now, at least we can always roll back to here. Like if I accidentally delete something, that's why I want to
there's
get it in
rolling back because like there's nothing to roll back to from here. So
yeah. Okay, so this is all good. So how do we, what's a good way to, does a README tell you, or how can I see if this is working? How would I, what's the command to start it?
usually I would usually run npm start for React app, but you're using Yarn, so it'll be yarn start.
Yarn start. Oh, okay. So yarn start. Okay. So, okay, let's try it right in the command line here. Let's see if anything happens. Yarn start. Okay, so that's looking good. We won't be able to access this though. So if we go to like a browser, so this is a browser inside my, oh, and we're in development. So that sounds good. Okay. Oh no, don't restore pages. So if we go to local host, what host does it usually run on?
3000, but you got the link right there in the command line.
Oh yeah, because this is my website that I work on. Okay, so it's can't be reached. And the thing is because we don't have a port open in this Docker container, so it won't be able to find it. So we're gonna need to open a port. Yeah, localhost, yeah. So we have to map some ports here. So if we go back to our Docker compose, you can do ports. And I think the format is just like this. So that says map the internal port 3000 to the external port 3000. I should
Oh,
probably.
yeah. So it's not dangerous then.
What do you mean it's not dangerous?
I've heard a lot of like really bad things about opening ports in your laptop or computer.
Oh yeah, we're not opening ports. So this is opening the internal Docker container port 3000, and it's mapping it to your local host port 3000. So we're not opening anything in our firewall, but when we go local host on our host machine, we should be able to see port 3000. Oh, it does need to have quotes around it. Okay, so I do this. All right, so let's exit. Just stop it, make sure it's everything's stopped. Build it. Not web app. I'll try running it again. Okay, now how did I yarn start, right? Okay, so now theoretically port 3000 should be open. So let's see if that actually worked this time.
What if you open a browser? Oh no, never mind. That's not a virtual. We're not talking virtual machines. I thought I got confused. Never mind.
Ports. Oh, it didn't work. What am I doing wrong? 3000, 3000. Compiled successfully. Oh, that's a bummer. What am I missing? Birm. It seems like it should be running. Well, the other thing we could do is we could try. So this is a command we want to run when the application starts. And it's just yarn start, right?
Yeah.
We don't need a. Do we need to bind? It should bind to all ports or all IPs, I think. Okay. So let's try Docker compose. We'll build it just to make sure. That Docker compose. We'll just up this up. So when you run up, what it does is it runs your container, but instead of just kicking you into the bash shell, it's going to run kind of this command that you've passed in here that you've set up. You can either set it up here or you can set it up inside your Docker file. You can have a command to run when your container starts. So ours is yarn start. And we got the same. Sorry?
It's telling you where it's telling you that it's giving you the links and everything from Docker now, not from NPM. Pretty cool.
Content not from Webpack is served from Hobe node public. For flows will flow back to root. Okay. All right. So let's see if this works. All right. Cool. We're in. Awesome, Birm.
Oh, it worked. Okay. There was a little bit of delay in the video, and I was like, "Hold on, what do you mean it worked?"
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, if you notice the delay, let me know, and I'll slow down. Probably help for the video. Awesome.
Oh.
Well, I don't know. I'm a happy man. I think this is a great time to like. Let's stop a war ahead, and then we can try the next time. We can try running like some of the automated unit tests and poke around the Docker container a little bit more.
Yeah. So like that was the thing that fixed it right there.
Yeah, so I'm not sure why run, maybe because when we execute the run command, it didn't open these ports. That I'm not sure why it didn't work when we did run. But when we did up, so now you can see I'm not inside like the bash shell or anything.
Yeah.
This is just a log from the container starting up. And then I don't know if we, it's not logging if I hit it. Let's see if I refresh the page. If I try, I'll just try and generate an error. Like if I go blah. Oh, it's not logging anything here. Okay. Oh, that just redirects me. I didn't even change the blah. What other public? Okay, we could try. If I went, will it let me do this? Logo 192.png. Yeah, okay. So it's not logging anything here. It'd be nice if when I was running this application, it was showing some logs down here of what it was doing, but that's okay.
Maybe in debug console, or is it a few of the others? I know they're moved, but I'm not too familiar with them. Look in the output or debug console and try to test there in the command line. I mean, instead of the terminal.
I can't right now because I have the Docker container is up. So I could
like right on top of me, like where it says problems output debug console, or at the top.
Oh yeah, that's not going to show up because we're running inside the Docker container. So we would need a way to hook up these consoles to this Docker container, which I think there is with Visual Studio code. I'm just not very familiar with it because I usually use the JetBrains IDEs. So I know how to hook those up to Docker containers, but Visual Studio Code, I do not know. So, but anyway, I think this is a good time to quit. I'm a happy man. Any last minute questions?
I think that was a thorough explanation of what Docker was.
So I will stop sharing here. But yeah, thanks, Birm. That's great. Thanks for introducing me to React. What little bit we got there. I'm excited to actually try and get an application running and just to play around with it.
And yeah, we're doing a React application using Firebase. So the next video is going to be kind of setting all of that up. And yeah, and this is going to be in this exact same project as well. So
yeah,
it's going to be a series. We're not going to be doing this from the start next week.
yeah. We're just like a good TV show. We leave everyone on a nice cliffhanger right now, right? So
yeah,
maybe next time we have to get to a part where it's not working, and then we just stop and we're just like, no, it's not working. That's a better cliffhanger. This is like a feel good one.
Yeah, like right before it starts working, everyone is like,
yeah, man. I'll just end the video right there just before. Does it work? I don't know.
Find out next week.
Yeah. Cool. Well, as always, thanks, Birm. This was great. If anyone has any questions or would like to reach out to us, our information is in the links in the videos below. You can find me at saturdaymp.com. And Birm, where can they find you?
I'm on Twitter.
What's
you
your
can go to my website, but it's my website that directs you to my Twitter because that's where I'm most. And my @ on Twitter is WaiseIdeas, WAIS ideas.
Right on. Cool. Yeah. Well, thanks everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you soon.